Off we go. Okay, back to screen share. Welcome to Bridgit. And let's go to Patagonia. Okay, off we go.
Okay,
Awesome.
so as I was saying, just an amazing place. So let's go to the next slide so I can show you where exactly it is and where we go. So as you can see, you'll see Santiago on the left. That's Chile, that long, narrow part. And on the right, that's Buenos Aires, which is in Argentina. So you can fly to either place and start your adventure. And I've had the good fortune of going to Patagonia twice. So I've seen a lot of these places, and I would go back tomorrow if we could go anywhere because it's so beautiful, so much fun. But what we're going to focus on is this area right through here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about where I went and what I did. So next slide, Jillian, please. So as I said, there's this red, white, and blue flag is Chile. The other one, the light blue is Argentina. And then this is the official flag of Patagonia. So even though it's not a state, they're very proud of this region, and they, you know, have their own sort of identity. And you can see Patagonia actually means land of big feet, because when they were exploring Patagonia, the Europeans came in and there were this big tribe, and they were huge, and so they just thought they were big. So they
the people there have big feet? Is that what it is?
Well, because they were so little, these people looked like they had really big feet to the little people. So that is like how they got this very complicated, cool name, Patagonia. And you can see it's a vast region. It's huge, but only 2 million people, not 2 people, live in Patagonia. So it's got tons of land to explore and see. So it's really fun. And let's go to the next slide. Thanks, Jillian.
Okay. Hold on. Hopefully it's coming. All right.
This is just a little fun fact, because everybody knows the clothing line Patagonia and everybody thinks about it. And just in case you didn't know where that jagged peak of the Patagonia logo, it's actually, you can see it, you can follow it right along. It's called Mount Fitzroy, and it's the most beautiful when you're hiking and you get to this. And this part is actually in Argentina. You're just blown away. You're like, there it is, I see it. And it's just really cool. And if you see this little lake below on the picture on the right, that's actually a glacier lake. And part of going to, you're so excited when you see Mount Fitzroy, part of the experience is you have to jump in that freezing cold lake, and you just feel so alive, and it's really fun. But you don't have to, but I highly recommend it. So the cool thing about Patagonia, the company, is that the founder is a guy named Yves Chenard, and he actually went to Patagonia I think in the early 70s, before anybody had really heard of it. And it's a mecca for climbers. And he's a very accomplished climber. And back then the culture was called dirtbag culture, and it was a compliment to be known as a dirtbag. Like that's like a true climber, and they actually set a lot of the routes. And that's how he started Patagonia. It was a climbing equipment company, because he developed the carabiners and the little equipment that you bang into the mountain to be able to climb. He and a couple other people. So he actually lived and experienced Patagonia, and to this day, it's a huge climbing mecca. And famous climbers from all over the world go there, but that's the connection to Patagonia. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Bridget, can I share a little fun fact about Patagonia?
Please.
Maybe, I don't know if it was fits in your presentation, so you can stop me if it is.
Yeah.
But in the last couple years, there were some cuts in taxes for people, and especially companies, large companies that were making a lot of money. And he didn't feel that that was really okay. He felt like he was making enough money and that he should be paying taxes. And so he received $10 million of money back from his taxes, and he donated it all to the environment.
Isn't that, and he's one of my favorite people. I just think he's so cool, and he walks the walk and he lives it. So it's pretty cool. So support Patagonia.
Yeah.
Right, for sure.
I bought all my holiday gifts this year from Patagonia.
And
I've read that about him.
And now when you see the logo, you'll know that it's right from that beautiful spot. And I have to tell you, the first time I came around the corner and saw that, I was almost in tears because the natural beauty of this area is just amazing. So, so one of the things that we love to do when we're there, and there's so many, but hiking is a big deal. And the next slide, if you want to go to that, this is called the W Trail. And you can see the red line, it actually looks like a W. And this is in the Chile side. And these are the two on the right are pictures that I actually took. That was a sunrise and that was just a beautiful bluebird day without any filters. But you actually start and you walk. It's a 50-mile, pretty demanding hike, but you stay in these cool refugios. They're like family style, kind of campsite. They're actual buildings, and you you have a bunk bed, and I'll show you pictures later. But it's a really rustic, cool hike, and along the way there's waterfalls, there's mountains there, and then when you get to the very end of the hike, I will show you the next slide, Jillian. This is one of the last day. It's a 5-day hike, and the last day it's a really demanding, very steep 10 miles up, and when you literally come around the corner, you're at these towers. These are sort of the iconic shot of Patagonia, and you get there and you can have a picnic. And these are so one of the trips I went on, I went as a hiker, and this trip I actually went with a group, and we got to the top, and we were hot, we were cold, it was raining, it was snowing, it was very windy. And so when we got there, we were super excited. You can see the Glacier Lake and then the towers in the background. So that's just another, surprise and delight in Patagonia that I just loved. But you don't have to hike the whole W. The great thing about it is you can do day hikes in and out. So the second time I went, these girls that I'm hiking with, they didn't want to do the 50-mile hike because it's hard and it takes a lot of time. So we just did a day hike into the towers, but it was still a long day, and then you have to get back. So it was really fun. But that's one of the best ways to cover the whole park if you're a hiker. Now, one of the things, and the next slide you'll see, one of my favorite things about Patagonia, because the weather changes so much, you never know what's around the corner, and there's a ton of rainbows. If you like rainbows, you owe it to yourself. And who doesn't like rainbows? Come on, if you don't like rainbows, we need to talk. But right. You will be walking and you will be tired and it will be a long day. And then all of a sudden I was standing there and this guy said, turn around, and right behind me was this big rainbow, and we both just started crying and took pictures, and then it was gone. But it's one of the most, I've never been anywhere in my life where there's just a daily rainbow, and it just makes you feel like you're on top of the world. And it's, once again, Jillian and I always talk about what we love about travel. It's the surprise like this that makes me happy. So, and I can be very, cranky from a long day's hike, and all of a sudden this pops out and all's right with the world. So that's one of my good. So another thing while you're hiking in Patagonia, which it's very famous for, is glaciers. And Jillian, if you go to the next slide, this Perito Moreno is the biggest glacier in Argentina. I'm sure you guys have seen glaciers and are familiar with glaciers, but this one is very unusual because most glaciers in the world are receding because of, we can talk about global warming and things, but Perito Moreno is actually growing. And scientists go down there, they study it, they try to figure it out. They do not understand why, but it's really awesome to see this glacier. It goes about 2 meters a day, and then it's famous for its, I don't know if you guys know the term calving, but when a glacier starts to separate, there'll be the biggest boom you've ever heard, and then part of the glacier will break off into the water, and it is the most mesmerizing sight, and you can just sit there and watch it. And then it will just, I wish I had video of it, and maybe you guys can look it up later. I'll send Jillian an email about calving, but it's just stunning. And this also, one of the things is it's one of the largest freshwater reserves in the world. And so that's where a lot of the water from that region is derived from. And you actually can get to on this one, we went by boat and we just went along the glacier and saw it and looked at the natural beauty. But the next glacier that we went to, which is the next slide, Glacier Gray, which is also in Chile, we actually got to ice hike on. And the view right here on the far right, you take this little Zodiac boat and then you have to take a hike to get, so it's kind of a planes, trains, and automobiles. It's not easy to get to, it's pretty remote, but this is as you approach the glacier, and then you get to learn to have an ice axe and crampons, and you get to actually go out on the glacier. You can drink the water because it's so clean. And if you go to the next slide, I will show you my great adventure that's a blue ice tunnel. And it's so scary at first because you have to hike up those stairs, and then you learn how to use an ice axe and crampons. I don't know if anybody's ever done it, but it actually, to me, it looks like meringue or baked Alaska. It's just otherworldly. And then the next thing you know, you get to climb through this blue tower, and it's one of the most fun things I've ever done. I mean, it's cold, but it's exhilarating. And once you get the hang of it, it looks much scarier than it is because of all the ropes, but that's just so you don't fall in and kill yourself, because that wouldn't be good for the company that takes us. But it's just I had never walked on a glacier before, and we got to hike on it for about 4 hours. And I'll tell you, it is exhausting to go up and down see those ridges in the glacier. I see Sam said he would do this, and I would love to take you, Sam. It would be so much fun. But that's another thing. Like, here we are in this region in South America, and you can see glaciers, you can hike to different places, so it's just, there's so much to do. You can kayak along the glacier. That day we decided to hike it instead of kayak, but anyway, it's just so much fun. So and then the great thing about Patagonia is some of the coolest wildlife ever. So if you go to that slide, Jillian, that was just, I wanted to show you. So this was all the same day, and we had rain gear on, we had down coats, we had short sleeve, and they have a joke that you see all 4 seasons in one day. And it's so true, because you can be walking along, it can be hot and sunny, and the next thing you're getting blown off a mountain. It's just, the wind in Patagonia is just like wind I've never seen. And actually, I'll show you, anyway, so that was just kind of fun. But next slide, I'll show you the wildlife of some of it. Wow. So there's me. I happen to love llamas. So I don't think I've ever been so excited when this llama came over and wanted to have a little conversation with me, and then he went back and sat down. But I love llamas, and I think they're really cute, and they're all over Patagonia. And this guy on the right is called a wanaka. So he's a relative of the llama, but you can see he's not as hairy, and they're very good. I don't personally want to eat them, but they're very good eating. This guy in the middle is called a rhea, and that's over here a relation to an ostrich, which you can see. And they're all over the place too, running wild. And on the bottom left is a puma. And this, I will admit, is not my picture, but last time we were there, we saw pumas. We saw a mother and babies, and she had just killed a wanaka and was bringing it to her family to eat. So, but we couldn't take pictures because we were all, it was a little far off, you could see it, but pumas are great sightings. And then, I don't know if you guys like penguins, but penguins are on this one island. And Jillian, go to the next slide. So you go down, if you remember the map, there's Santiago and Buenos Aires, and then very far down in the southern part of Patagonia is a town called Punta Uranus, and it's sort of the last stop before you go to Antarctica. And you can actually, we're on this little Zodiac boat. We went into the Strait of Magellan, and we went to this island called Magdalena Island. There are 50,000 penguins that come every spring. They mate for life. And it's so cool because the males come first and they get the nest all ready. And then the females come, and they come from, you know, far, like Rio, Brazil, but they come back to this island.
Yes.
And, and
What happened? Can you tell me?
Jillian, I can't.
You know the one who sent me the mug.
Yeah.
I'm doing a travel and adventure right now.
Yeah.
And she said that everything.
Go ahead, Bridget.
Okay. So these guys, they mate for life. Then they have their, so they sit on the nest after they get it all prepared. The female shows up. So the male's done all the work. And then when the babies are born, they share the division of labor. So it's not just the female that takes care of the babies. So as soon as the babies are ready to launch, they all take off, they leave the island for another 6 months, and then they do it all again. But we got to the island at mating season, and it is amazing to see 25,000 pairs of penguins in a very organized system with their little, and then you see these fluffy, crazy chicks running around all over the place. So that was just, it was really fun to see. And it's a little bit of a boat ride and a little bit of an adventure to get to the island, but I had no idea what I was in store for. So I really loved, if you love penguins, it's a big thing. And they're probably about, like if they would go up to my knee. So they're much bigger than you think, and they're hilarious. They'll come up to you. You can see my friend Jose, who I was traveling with. He was having a very deep conversation with that penguin, and they're very curious about Americans, not Americans precisely, people, but they're very outgoing. So that was really fun. So another thing we did, and next slide, Jillian. Horseback riding is really big in Patagonia, and we were allowed to go down by this lake and just gallop along the lake. And that's, if you've heard of the gauchos of South America, they're the ones that train the horses, and they have a unique, I see somebody fell off a horse. I've fallen off a horse too. This day I didn't. I was so excited because of their gait. They're very smooth. And the guy in the middle is a trained gaucho, and we wanted him to have his traditional wear on, but he's a modern young guy, so he wants to be cool, and he doesn't look like a gaucho, but he can handle a horse like nobody you've ever seen. So that's just sort of another fun thing we did. Okay, next slide, Jillian. I want to tell you guys, so I told you I've been twice to Patagonia, and the first time I went with a group called Trekking for Kids, and I just wanted to tell you about them because I've traveled with them many times, and sometimes travel is just for you and for an adventure. And this particular trip I took, it's travel with a purpose, because what we do is we raise money in advance, and we then go and work and build infrastructure at an orphanage. And you can see in the back where we're all holding the sign, we did all that painting. We actually built that building while we were there. And it was just a really special way to travel. It was a great group, and you feel this sense of accomplishment. And what we do is we work hard at the orphanage, then we all go and we push ourselves physically. So we went on the W trek, and we just feel this sort of sense of accomplishment. And it's just a really, it makes you realize that there's more in these areas than just the fun, and that there are people there that we are fortunate enough to give back to. And that's when we stayed in the refugios, and it's just, we saw all the same things. It was not a luxury trip, but it was really special to me because all these people in the picture, I got to be really good friends with. We worked really hard together, then we played really hard. And sometimes I just think that's a great way to travel. And it was really special to me. And remember this guy in the middle with the red shirt, because his name is Luis Benitez. And if you stick with me in 2 weeks, you will remember him for a very specific reason. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so you see on the left, those are the bunk beds that I stayed in, and you have communal bathrooms, and then you all go and you eat. And then the girls that wanted to go a little different, we stayed in this really cool place called Tierra Patagonia that's literally built into the land, and it had this pool overlooking the lake. And I loved that too. I can't lie. That was beautiful. But what I'm pointing out is you can stay in a refugio or you can stay there. It doesn't matter. You're going to see the same things. You're going to have the same experiences. And that's why, you know, travel on a budget. If that's how you can go, go. If you have the good fortune like these women that I guided and they could stay at this beautiful place, that was great. But I think there's always some way to get where you want to go and be able to afford it and do what you want to do. So I just had that thought. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so I have a hero. Well, one of my heroes is a guy named Tommy Caldwell, and he is featured in a movie called The Dawn Wall. He's one of the most famous climbers in the world. And I had heard that this is like down at the base of, that's once again, Mount Fitzroy, the Patagonia. And right down, you'll see this little town. It's called El Chaltán. And this is where all the famous climbers go and stay. And I had heard he was there. So I, like a fool, could think of nothing else but maybe a Tommy Caldwell sighting. And this is his little house that he was staying in. So we stalked him for days. And he finally came out and he's like, "What is wrong with you girls?" And it was like, ah, hero sighting. And we had so much fun. And he was so nice to us. And he was like, "Okay, now stop." Like, he's got a wife and kids. And they're like, "Okay, stop staking out my house." But he came. It was really, you know, so it's always these unexpected surprises. And it was a highlight of my life to be in this little town that also has a little waffle truck right down there with the best waffles, homemade waffles you'll ever have. So if you're going, talk to me. I'll set you up at the Waffle House because it's, but I just couldn't let a presentation about Patagonia go by without telling you about Tommy. Next slide. Oh. Okay, and this was the other, sometimes, like I've said, the best surprises come in the smallest packages. If you see this rock down at the bottom with the trees, that was sitting right there. And that is from nature. That was not painted. That is lichen. And I just couldn't believe that that existed in nature. It's just a rock. And I had to take a picture, and it always reminds me that, you know, we can see the big mountains, we can see all the things, but sometimes just those little small surprises are what makes travel, to me, the greatest adventure. So I wanted to show you that, because sometimes you're looking up and sometimes it's best to look down. And we were all kind of like, that little silly rock with that tree looking lichen just made my day. So, and then last slide, and then I'll let you guys ask questions. I took that picture at sunrise one morning, and I just wanted to give you, if you're interested in finding out more about Patagonia, one of the best movies, and it recreates Yves Chanel. It's a modern day guy, but he recreates one of Yves' original quests through Patagonia climbing, and it's called 180 Degrees South. And it just has beautiful scenery of Patagonia. It's a really interesting story. So I highly recommend that. And then it's not set in Patagonia, but because it's Tommy Caldwell and he spends a lot of time down there, what a great movie to watch is called The Dawn Wall. And it's Tommy Caldwell climbing El Capitan in Yosemite. And it's an amazing. So I just thought it would be fun for you guys to have something to think about and look at. So.
Wow.
So that's it. That's my little, I could show you 9 million more pictures, but let's open it up for questions.
Wow, that was incredible, Bridge. Thank you.
It's
guys, if you have, amazing, and the pictures were spectacular. If you guys have a question, you just unmute yourself and you can ask the question, okay? Anybody have a question?
Hi, John.
How did you get around? I mean, you were all over like
Uh,
a huge area. You were not hiking all of that.
no, so that's the one challenge of Patagonia. You fly in and then there's a lot, like, then we took another little plane south and then so the first time we went, we did Chile and Argentina, and it was a lot of bus travel, down, across, up. We scheduled it that way, but it was really demanding. The second time I went, we just stayed in the Chile and the Torres del Paine National Park, and that was much more manageable. But that's the big thing. There's huge expanses, and you're on a lot of bus rides
Yeah.
to get from place to place. Yeah, so that is an important thing to know when you're planning it. And also because you're crossing borders, if you're doing Chile and Argentina, you have to have a visa and you have to get through. And we sat at the border for a couple hours and it was kind of a pain. So it helps to have someone that really knows, the area and helps you plan, or you do a lot of research. But I wouldn't go and do both countries unless I had 2 weeks. I'd pick one or the other.
You know, it would be interesting if you did one of these talks on travel disasters.
Oh my God. That one would be so long. I couldn't even, I would love to do that.
We all have them.
Yeah. And they're fun. They usually work out, and then they're fun to talk about, but during the time.
They're more fun to talk about later.
Yes, exactly. That's so true. Like, I can tell you one when we were in Patagonia. So we were at the border, and one of the girls that we were with, so we were waiting and we're on this bus, and she decided to get her bag out and get some stuff. And, we finally got all of our visas processed and everything, and we're on our way. And we get to the refugio that we're staying at that night, and she never put her bag back on the bus. And so we were, she wanted to go back. Well, you don't just go back to another country 7 hours or whatever it took. So we all just gave her gear and yelled at her and made fun of her the whole time. But, it worked out. But she wasn't too happy that her bag was sitting by the curb. Yeah.
So Robert has a question.
Robert,
do you want to unmute yourself?
You can ask, Elisa, you can ask the question.
Hi, Robert.
The question is San Luis in Patagonia?
Was that the same question he had?
I saw that on there, yeah.
Right.
That's
I
one.
don't know of a San Luis.
So when I Googled it to try to help while you were talking, so the first thing that of course comes up in Google, Patagonia, the clothing, right? Not the region. So they're based in San Luis Obispo.
Okay,
I said that, but then Javier said that there is a San Luis region in Argentina. Of course, I didn't know that, so I just learned that. That's when you guys saw me look down. I was doing my little homework. So there is a region in Argentina called San Luis.
Okay. Hey, Jillian, can you?
More of a province, actually. I shouldn't say
province.
region.
Nice.
Province, which, yeah.
Do you mind putting that second slide up of the map? Because that can be.
And that's what I tried to do too, but I couldn't see. Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
I think it was the second or third slide that has the, because I can show you guys. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, next. Keep going. That's the W. Keep going back a little bit more.
Here we go.
Yeah, here. Okay, so yeah, I was just going to see if it came up, but so you can see down here, Ushuaia, that's the southernmost tip, and that's actually part of Patagonia. That's where you would take off to go to Antarctica. That's the last stop in the world before going south to Antarctica. So that's still on my bucket list as one of the next places I want to go. But yeah, so you can see where I was talking about. Fitzroy is right here. The Glacier is right here. Torres del Paine, which is actually in Chile. And then Punta Uranus is where you take off to go to the Strait of Magellan to see the penguins. So it's that's another place that people will originate to get to Antarctica. So It depends on if you want to be in Argentina or Chile. You can go from both places, but
Wow.
it's a little godforsaken town at the southernmost tip of Chile.
Hey, Bridget, what was the temperature when you were there?
So when we got there, it was probably like when we're just at the base, probably like 70 degrees. And by the time we got up to like the towers, it was probably about 50. And I've never seen anything like how many times the weather will change. And that's why they say you always layer, always have a short sleeve shirt, then another shirt, then your rain gear, because you're hot, you're cold, and it changes. But it's a temperate, like anywhere from 50 to 70. It never gets much hotter than that. So
Who wants to go there?
I would.
I do.
I want to go back with you
I wanna
guys.
go. Wow, it looks amazing.
And
you
I
can-
would go in the ice tunnel too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was really
Yeah, that was just incredible.
one of the coolest things.
It doesn't even look real. It really
Yeah.
doesn't look real.
I'm a little more attracted to the luxury hotel that
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, before we close it up, does anybody have another question for Bridget? And then Elisa, I think, is going to launch our poll. Are you good with that, Elisa?
I don't know if I'm good, but I'm going to do it.
All right. So, Bridget, this is Elisa, and Elisa is working as a program support person for Main Street right now and helping us out.
Okay.
Hold on. I think that's the wrong poll.
Whoops.
Go back. Go
Oops.
back. Everybody- well, it's okay.
Serious?
You know what? Leave it. We can do this poll. It's fine.
Where,
It's really fine. Do this one. It's a good one too.
where are we going next week?
Okay, so I'm so excited. We're going to Africa, and we're going to a specific place. It's one of my favorite places in Africa that you guys may or may not know about, but it's called the Okavango Delta in Botswana. And a lot of people know a lot about Africa, but this little gem of a place is one of my favorite places. So I can't wait to show it to you. And then the following week, Jillian, we're really, really excited. After Africa, I was going to do, we're going to go to Nepal and to Mount Everest. And I was going to do my little talk about going to base camp, which was really fun. But I have a really good friend who is a guide, and he's actually Luis, the guy I showed you in the picture. And he has been to the summit of Mount Everest 8 times in his life, which is badass. And I'm sorry for swearing, but I have no other.
It is badass.
That is badass. And he guided a blind climber named Eric Widmeyer up Everest. And he's coming on as my special guest to talk to you guys about taking Eric, the blind climber, up Everest and his experiences. So I'm super excited because he'll be really fun and exciting, and you'll love hearing from him. And I think it'll be just really interesting to hear. I've talked to him about it over the years, but he's very humble and he never really wants, and I'm like, you've got to tell these guys about it. So I'm really excited. So we've got Africa and then Everest.
Awesome. Awesome. So thank you, Bridget. This is so fun. I'm loving this. I feel like since we don't have the opportunity to travel during COVID, or maybe we wouldn't anyway, this is such a great way to see such beautiful places in the world and learn about them. You guys, let's finish up the poll. For those of you who don't want to do it, you don't have to. For those of you who can you just complete it real quick? And then we haven't taken a picture with Bridget yet.
Oh.
I don't think. So, or I didn't get it if we did. So if everybody will kind of get in their screens a little. And
you keep your glasses on.
What'd you say?
I said, do you keep your glasses on for the picture?
I do, but that's just me. But if everybody could do a big cheese or maybe like a peace sign, or I don't know, is there some travel sign we could do? Peace with Bridget. Yay. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Oh, that's the cool way to do it, like Faith does it. I'm like,
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like both.
Yeah, that's much better. I'll do that next time, you guys.
Exactly. Does anybody have maybe like one last question for Bridget so we can, I know we're late, but we can...
I like to say something.
Yes, please.
Do you know that Javi and myself, we are from Argentina, and we travel a lot in the Patagonia. One message that I have is because I really congratulations because what you did is great. But what I can to say is that for everyone that maybe don't have your skills and your courage to do see so big, you know that Bariloche or San Martín de los Andes, there are a lot of possibilities that you can do hiking, and you have also wonderful mountains that you can go there, but it's not so high and so demanding in so special thing that you really did. This is only what I like to mention, that there are a lot of things that you can do and it's not so demanding and it's beautiful also.
Thank you for saying that, because that is absolutely true. You can go for the most beautiful day hike and see that grand expanse, right? Where are you from?
Well,
Argentina.
we are from Buenos Aires, but we used to travel a lot because we love Bariloche area, and we go in winter for ski, and in summertime it's great. And also we travel to Chile from Correntoso, no, in the south. We know a lot of volcans and areas that you mentioned. That was beautiful, really. Yeah.
And Buenos Aires is one of the most fun places I've ever been. I loved Buenos Aires. So
It's a big city. It's a huge city. Yeah.
but fun.
Well, but thank you for, told us about this, because now a lot of people knows the south of Argentina and Chile, and they are very, very beautiful places.
It's a gem, isn't it? Yeah, it's special. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It looks totally breathtaking. And guys, let's give Bridgit a big hand and say thank you.
Bye.
I don't know about you guys, but I know Bridgit knows this, but anytime I see a rainbow, I know it's just going to be a great day. So,
Right? It's
we all got to see a rainbow today, and
Yeah.
so it's going to be a great night. So
and
thank you,
there's a
Bridgit.
rainbow, Faith. Oh my gosh. Look at that.
Oh, there's pictures right there.
I love
Really
it.
cute, Faith.
There's some
Thank you.
pictures.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You have a
There's-
picture of a rainbow, Jonathan?
Yep, I have pictures.
Nice. We saw a rainbow in Annapolis the other day. Maybe I'll send that to you guys too. It was a beautiful picture. We took.
And Faith lives under a rainbow every day.
I know.
Awesome.
Faith, you're the perfect person to be under a rainbow with
Yeah, no
smile
kidding.
of yours. Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Thank
Bridgit.
you guys.
We
And
love being
next
with you.
week, I promise I'll get my technology act together.
All right,
This won't
we'll
happen
do it.
again, but thanks for hanging in.
Thanks, honey.
Have a
Bye,
great
everybody.
night, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, all right.